Carl Dooley is a government and economics teacher at Butler Tech. He's been teaching there for 18 years. But what made him become a teacher? What's his story? Well, there's only one way to find out.
Great. So what inspired you to become a teacher?
What inspired me to be a teacher? It's a super good question. I think like a lot of people who become teachers, other teachers were probably my biggest inspiration. I was probably in junior high. I was probably something like 12 or 13 years old when I had some history teachers, American history and Ohio history both. Just awesome teachers who taught the class very vividly and used primary resources and talked about movies and just really made the content really just interesting to me. And to be honest, I was probably kind of a history nerd anyway. So between having teachers who I thought were really good and made the content really come alive to me and made the whole thing seem very inspirational, and then plus just interest that I had in social studies content as I began to think about what I wanted to do someday, social studies teacher was kind of a natural fit. I made that call as a pretty young guy. I was probably something like 13 years old when it first occurred to me that I might want to be a social studies teacher someday, like as an adult, like for a living. And so I made that call at 13, and I never deviated. I had other jobs that were cool in my lifetime before I became a teacher. I had a couple jobs that were terrible in my lifetime before I became a teacher, just getting through college and things like that. But became a teacher at age 23, I think, and have never looked back. If you want me to discuss some of those previous jobs, so when I turned 16, I just wanted to get a job and like punch a clock and get a paycheck and stop doing all that hustling. So the day I turned 16, I got a telemarketing job at a place just south of Cleveland in Parma, Ohio. And it was really awful. People like talk about telemarketing being a terrible job. The reason they do that is because telemarketing is a terrible job. I think I worked there for like 4 months, from like June to like maybe, I don't know, June, July, September, probably like 6 or 7 months actually. It was like in the wintertime by the time I quit, November, December. By the time I quit that job, after those 6, 7 months, like nobody still worked there for my first day. The whole place had turned over 100%, which is the hallmark of like the worst kind of job, right? No call, no showed. I just quit. Like I just didn't show up for work one day. Like it was a Friday and I had to work from 5 till 9. I didn't really feel like going. I knew I wanted to quit anyway. I was eyeballing a job, my next job at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, as a matter of fact. So I just didn't show up, and that's not me. I'm not a guy who would ever do that, but that job I did. And my boss called me and he was like, "Hey, Dooley, are you coming in tonight, man?" And I was like, I don't think so, man. So after my telemarketing deal fell through, I went down to the zoo one day, just got off the bus after school. I lived right by the zoo anyway. It was like 2 blocks away from my house. So coming home from school one day, I got off the bus a little bit early and I walked down there and applied for a couple of different jobs, but ended up getting a similar one to the one that he got. And so I worked that summer at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. I worked the following winter. And then I worked, I think, the next 4 summers there in a row. I worked there for like 5 years total, most of my summers in college and whatnot, working for the food service in the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. And it was the most fun job ever. I remember the year this semester I was a student teacher. It was the fall of 2001. And I was trying to be a full-time student teacher at Tiffin Columbian High School in Tiffin, Ohio. I was trying to be a good RA for the residents who lived on my floor in a dorm. I was trying to be a good employee at the Heidelberg College Theater. I had a boss I loved and respected there. He was an awesome guy. So I wanted to, make sure I was covering that job. And then I was at the campus center at night answering those phones. And that's one time that things really, really piled up on me. Found myself just really almost buried in all the different things that I was trying to get done. So that was definitely a difficult time.
Why is teaching government so important, not only to the students, but also to you?
Have you watched the news, man? What are you talking about? How is this important right now? This is super important right now. I mean, now more than ever. We live in a country full of misinformation, a country full of disinformation, a country full of, misinformational disinformation. People just not being 100% sure of who's supposed to be in charge of what, or who's doing what, or who's responsible for which aspect of the workings of the government. People whose passions are kind of being inflamed in different ways by some of the people running for different things in this country. So I feel like, I feel like this is a difficult time to be a government teacher. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as I used to, but I think it's a really important time to be a government teacher, just trying to provide young people with a knowledge base. The students I work with are 16, 17 years old. In a year, they're going to be eligible voters graduating from high school, entering this representative democracy and becoming decision makers. There's a connection proven by political scientists that political knowledge will translate to political participation. So I see this class as enormously important because if we can give young people that knowledge base as juniors and seniors in high school, then we know that's going to allow them to participate to the extent they want to once they graduate and become voters. And not just participate, but hopefully be knowledgeable participants who can, we're in these goofy times right now, these hyper-polarized times, hopefully provide students with a knowledge base where they can participate and maybe start getting us past some of the nonsense that we've dealt with over the course of the last 10, 20 years probably.
Day by day, Mr. Dooley is changing the lives of his students. But what do the students think about Dooley?
State your name and why you're here.
My name's Brad Wiseman, and I'm here to talk about Mr. Dooley.
My name is Zane Farmer, and I know Mr. Dooley because he was my world history teacher.
All right, so what are some of your favorite experiences with Mr. Dooley?
He was just a good teacher. He always made us laugh, but we still learned like we needed to. And he was just a nice guy.
So I try to give Mr. Dooley a bunch of random stuff he doesn't want. I've brought in an exercise ball chair, brought in some flags, and I try to give them to him, but he never really wants them. And so the interactions between us, when I try to give him something he doesn't want and he tries to decline it while I still push it on him, I think that's pretty fun.
What makes him such a special teacher to you?
The way he can get everybody in the class to focus on one thing. So we could be doing a serious topic, and then he would switch it up and make a joke about it when he noticed we were losing interest, and then we'd focus on the joke, and then he'd switch back to the topic when we all had our interest again, and it was fun.
I mean, he knows how to have a good time. He's good-natured, he's good-mannered, and he's a good guy. So he never goes out of his way to hurt anybody, but he still knows how to have a good time. He knows how to poke fun at people, and he's still a good teacher on top of that. He teaches us everything we need to know on top of not making it boring.
All right, so how do you think government and economics will benefit you in the future?
Government and economics will benefit me in the future by just knowing what has happened in the past in the government and economics and trying not to make those same mistakes or do the same thing that has hurt the world already, I guess.
So how do you think government and economics will benefit you in the future?
I think government's just a thing everybody should know. We're living in a world where we're run by a government, so to have education on that and to know what's going on is a big thing. And, well, government and economics is in our entire lives. It's going to be every day for our whole life. So to have education on that, to know what's going on with your money, to know what's going on in the government, that's a big thing that everybody should know.
This is a rule that I should practice more. So here's wisdom for you, if you want some wisdom. I need to practice this more. Almost everybody I know needs to practice this particular skill. It's talk less and shut up more. That's wisdom. Yeah.
Awesome.